Straight ahead, GSA is at it again. Forget about that $800,000 plus for that lavish Vegas conference. That's a drop in the bucket. Congressman Mica says that GSA is losing nearly $1 billion every year. How? And isn't anyone trying to stop it? You'll hear from Congressman Mica yourself. That's next. Also, shredding legal documents during a shredding party, spending $300,000 on a party boat. Senator Scott Brown says that is what NOAA is doing. NOAA is also the government agency that also tried to hire a magician for an event. All, of course, on your dime. You're going to hear from Senator Scott Brown. More than $800,000 is wasted? Wow, that's nothing. Try billions of dollars. That's what Congressman John Mica of Florida says the GSA is doing right now. How are they doing that? Griff Jenkins caught up with Congressman John Mica.
Greta, the federal government is the nation's largest asset holder with nearly 900,000 properties, over 3 billion square feet, and over 40 million acres of land. But the fact is, many of those properties are underutilized, mismanaged, or even worse, sitting empty, costing the taxpayers billions of dollars. And you don't have to look very hard. In fact, we're just a few blocks from the U.S. Capitol, where this building behind me, owned by the GSA, has been sitting empty for over 5 years. Congressman John Mica of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee wants something done about it. Congressman, where are we?
Well, we're in an empty federal building that's been vacant for 5 years, costing the taxpayer a lot of money. And as you can see, there's nobody here.
And in this particular building, you said empty for five years. Whose building is it? Why is it sitting empty? And how much is it costing taxpayers?
It's a people's building. It's under the control of GSA. And it's costing, again, not just this building, but across the country. We're losing probably $1 billion a year plus in assets that are sitting idle, like this property.
And what do you want done with this? Why don't they sell this building?
I did a little report, and we looked at some of the wasteful spending. And the title of the report is "The Federal Government Must Stop Sitting on Its Assets." And we're in one of the assets that we're sitting on. But if you look at this building, and then there are, believe this or not, 14,000 properties that across the country that the federal government controls that are either vacant or underutilized. That's a lot of big bucks.
The GSA told me that they manage in the National Capital Region area here 100 million square feet. In fairness to them, it's not, as you mentioned, it's difficult. It's not like they could just walk out front and put a for sale sign up. There's bureaucracy, there's a process.
Politics, people want to keep things as they are, and some people benefit by this and that. So there's the politics of it, too. That's why we set up working with Mr. Denham, who's my chair of the Government Building Subcommittee. We set up a BRAC-type commission, which is kind of like we've done with excess military property, or again, as we change operations with the military, doing away with some of theirs, because the military can make decisions of what to do with the property.
Now, this building, known as the Cotton Annex, 90,000 square feet. We're just a block from Independence Avenue and in the National Mall. Prime real estate.
This is 90,000 square feet, but it's on one of the most valuable pieces of real estate in the United States. It goes almost to the mall in the nation's capital, and it's underutilized. It's been vacant for years.
Coming up, if you thought it ends at the GSA, you are so wrong. Try this. A top intelligence official swindling you out of money, billing for fake trips, buying a house and a boat on your dime. But there's more, so much more. Senator Scott Brown says NOAA, the group that tried to hire a magician with your money for a group event, is doing much worse than that. Shredding legal documents, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a party boat. And now he wants the head of NOAA fired.
They need to have some magicians up there to actually fix it.
Well, it's not just clown, sushi, dinner, and dancing Gumby. GSA isn't the only organization gleefully spending your money. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, wanted to hire a magician. But that's not all. According to Senator Scott Brown of Massachusetts, when the media got wind of NOAA trying to hire a magician to supposedly turn the psychology of magic into a method of teaching leadership, NOAA suddenly yanked the ad. But Senator Brown says NOAA can't make its problems disappear, and those troubles go way further than just one entertainer. Griff Jenkins caught up with Senator Scott Brown.
Senator, what's going on at NOAA?
Well, you tell me. I tell you, there's a complete lack of accountability. You have they have party boats that they purchased with NOAA fine money, where in fact the engine broke and then they had to get towed in. You have magicians that they're hiring at conferences. You have really just a complete lack of accountability, and it's very, very frustrating, not only for me, but for the fishermen whose lives are being dramatically affected by this.
Let's separate those. The magician, after the GSA scandal, NOAA attempted to hire a magician?
Well, it just goes to show that there's a complete disregard for the fines and the monies that they're getting. And I've called for Lubchenco's firing. I think it would be a good start to help reestablish the trust between the federal government and the fishermen, because right now they're hurting. There's a complete lack of trust, not only with the science, but with the administration as a whole.
What specifically did NOAA do that, impacts American taxpayers when it comes to, like, the party boat? I mean, a lot of our viewers may actually be hearing about this for the first time.
Well, they should actually look at the independent report. There was a whole host of things, from a shredding party where somebody who was going to be who was being investigated actually shredded about 70%, I think, of the documents. The lack of us requesting documents to verify a lot of the things that were in effect being done, still haven't gotten all the documents. A complete lack of trust between the fishermen and NOAA when it comes to the science associated with determining what fish stocks can be fished and what fish stocks can't be fished. And then you talk about the fines. 3, 4, 5 times higher fining for Massachusetts fishermen than any other place in the country. And that money went to buy a party boat, a $300,000 yacht where they went out and partied.
Officials at NOAA.
Yeah, officials at NOAA. They actually also had more vehicles. They had more vehicles than they had actually employees. And they didn't go through the appropriate process to actually work to in fact get those vehicles. So there's just a systemic lack of accountability, and really Lubchenco should be fired. I've called for that. I've asked for either her resignation or firing, and the new commerce chief should go in and put somebody in there who can actually reestablish that very important trust between the fishermen and the administration.
You took to the Senate floor and you said, what does it take to get fired at NOAA?
I said I had a hearing in Boston, and I asked that very question, especially after I heard some of the atrocities that were associated with the inappropriate fines and the spending of fishermen fine monies, which are, I guess, indirectly now taxpayer monies, for things that they just don't need.
In the case of NOAA advertising to hire a magician, that seems pretty outrageous after government agencies like GSA have already been laid out bare and embarrassed.
Well, maybe they were hiring a magician to try to do the old political bougie-woogie so they wouldn't really be caught doing what they're doing and the inappropriate spending of fishermen fine monies. They need to have some magicians up there to actually fix it. And I'm calling on the Commerce Secretary to actually fire Lubchenco, put somebody in there that can help reestablish that trust, and get everybody on track. There's not one fisherman that I know that wants to have any species of fish disappear. They want to do sustainable, thoughtful, methodical fishing so they can provide a good product on people's tables and also have that for generations to come. But when you have a complete lack of trust when it comes to dealing with the science, it's a problem.
Is it your sense that this is just a blatant disregard for American taxpayers' dollars?
Well, there's some issues, and I'm hopeful that they'll get their act together. We need to make sure that we are a good steward of the taxpayers' money, because right now the federal government is not a good steward of taxpayer money, number one. Number two, the inappropriate fines and the way that fine money was spent on pleasure boats, on getting additional vehicles, on hiring potentially a magician, is just wrong. You know it's wrong. I know it's wrong, you know it's wrong, and your viewers will know it's wrong too.
NOAA responded to some of Senator Brown's accusations. Here's part of its statement. NOAA takes any allegation of waste, fraud, and abuse seriously, and when warranted, takes action to address the issue and ensure processes are put in place to prevent such situations from happening again. The improper use of a vessel that occurred in 2008 has been put to a stop with administrative changes, tighter controls, and a change in law enforcement leadership and policies. And about that magician, NOAA says it took down the ad and is reviewing the process surrounding the solicitation. And you've heard about the gross amount of inexcusable waste, but some instances are way beyond wasteful spending and are out-and-out criminal, like this story. One of the top officials at the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, ICE, just pled guilty to stealing your money. In a scam costing you $600,000, Fox News' William LaJeunesse told us all about it.
Oh, Greta, this is a monumental breakdown in many ways. Number one, you've got the travel scam, which is basically you had this guy who's the head of acting director of intelligence, the second largest investigative agency in our government after the FBI. He's way up here, and he's running this thing, right? So he's got all these underlings who, when they travel, he approves their expense accounts basically and gets a kickback for half of what they get from the government. And secondly, he was billing the government for trips he never took, 11 of them to New York City, others places around the country, but he didn't work. He didn't even go. And he took all the money for himself. He was able to buy another house and a boat with this money. So you've got that scam, but then you've got the other breakdown here, which is the intelligence thing. These guys are supposed to have a periodic review. And it wasn't just him at the lead. And there's another head of intelligence in El Paso was doing the same thing, traveling to the Middle East on unauthorized trips with a passport he was not supposed to have, depositing money abroad, bringing money back to this country. They had no idea where it was coming from, and they didn't catch it. And that's for over 15 years. This guy was there for 28 years, and this scam went on for 3.5 years. So who's asleep at the wheel? You got ICE travel people, and you have the intelligence oversight. Greta?
Yeah, you say the word breakdown, and I actually almost want to go ballistic, because it's, and I mean, not at you, but I mean, just the whole idea that it is so outrageous that nobody caught this, nobody was watching, nobody cared, hundreds of thousands of dollars belonging to other people, and the government says, well, it was just a breakdown, we should have had better oversight. Well, guess what? The American people should be absolutely livid.
Well, not only, you want to get mad? How about this?
Yeah.
That when they submitted expense accounts, they were not required to submit receipts. Okay, so you just say, I stayed at the Marriott for a month and a half, here's $6,000, give me $6,000, and the government would pay that without even seeing any kind of a backup receipt. Now this guy's live-in girlfriend, he helped write her resume, got her a job at ICE, she became his personal assistant, and then when they ran the scam, she would then create false receipts on her computer to submit as backup when they did begin to require them, but they didn't look at them. They just had to be in your file at your desk. That's unbelievable. But imagine that your supervisor, you can take 11 trips to New York and elsewhere, not even go, and no one knows that you weren't there. What kind of oversight is that?
I'm going to take the last word on this, but that it falls under DHS. They're asleep at the wheel, and Congress, which has the obligation to oversee and be the stewards of the economy and watch our money, and they are not doing their job, and it's absolutely appalling. I'm almost speechless. William, thank you.
You bet.
Coming up, you're not supposed to surf the web at work. But what about not just surfing the web, but checking out porn? And yes, not just any workers, the men who are supposed to be the stewards of our financial industry, the ones who missed the Madoff scandal and let Wall Street go wild, the SEC. But hold on to your seats. Wait until you hear their so-called punishment. And Senator Coburn is here, and politicians should be on notice. He says this culture of waste, this culture of careerism is hurting our country. You will hear from Senator Coburn.